Hello, welcome. Hello,
Hello.
Chizelle.
Yeah, how are you? Fabulous.
Oh, I'm so well. We're just laughing that we're in completely different worlds at the moment. Chizelle's in futuristic land, and I'm in like a peacock palace.
That pretty much describes it.
Yeah, and it's so perfect timing to be talking today. You know, like we sometimes like sort of say, oh, let's do it tomorrow, lining things up, and something will come up for one or the other of us, and then it will suddenly like line up that it can work, that we can get together. And that's so much a theme in how my life is at the moment. I'm not sure if that's like for you in general, you know, like that
Yeah.
spontaneity and the way things are evolving. Like each day is so new, and the things that actually happen that day may not be what was planned to happen, but it will happen what needs to happen.
That's so funny because I've just been reading about Egyptian mythology and
Right.
uh, how they believe that the beginning of every day is the chance of beginning completely anew. So every brand new day is a brand new opportunity, and you just go,
Yeah,
"Ooh, like how powerful is that?"
that's so powerful, so powerful. And
You
I
know,
just,
like we all
yeah,
wait for the new year to make our resolutions, or we wait for the new moon to set our intentions, or I don't know, we wait basically. And
yeah,
it's like, whereas in reality, we can choose something new in any moment in time.
yeah,
Like this moment can be the perfect time for us to change whatever needs changing.
yeah, yeah, beautiful.
So
That's it.
tell me more about this hive, my gorgeous.
Well, first, actually, just to follow on from what you just said about timing and that, like, I just came out of a session with one of the beautiful temple sisters, where we were looking at, you know, this. Sometimes if you go into overwhelm and you feel like there's too many things at once, you're thinking about too many things at once. So in some way, we need to have a level of some sort of plan or vision or next steps to
Yep.
sort of walk along, and yet that plan doesn't need to be rigidly structured within actual time frames in each day, where you can then enter the day and say, okay, well, you know, I've got my vision and my goals. Are they still alive? And what is alive today? What needs to happen today?
Yep.
You know, and that feels like enough structure for me anyway to actually implement in life. But that said, you know, I've gone through the beginning of this year primarily just flying. Every day is just like new things happening, and the whole structure is like dissolving and reforming. And it's kind of like fun and cool and exhausting and destabilizing at the same time. And so it's interesting because only just the past, well, yesterday I had a massive breakthrough, but just the past few days, or even the past week, really the message is coming through that it really need to land with some structure to support this what's coming through, and the structure is clarifying itself without me needing to force it into any shape. But even, you know, this leads on to the hive in the temple, right, which is a whole new framework that has come through, which I had no idea about when the temple was born. You know,
Yep.
back then it was like we've got the 7 gateways, the six gateways, the archetypes that we're journeying with each month. But then as soon as the hive came through, it's like so multi-dimensional that all of a sudden, and that makes the gateways seem really clunky. I don't know if that sort of but the gateways are still there because they still have a place. We still
Yeah.
have the different archetypes within ourselves to embody, because that's what the gateways are about. Journeying with, you know, Earth Mother, Dark Mother, Erotic Mother, Savvy Mother, you know, all the different archetypes of Divine Mother. So then the hive has come through to be a whole new template and framework for the temple. So there's 13 parts. So have you looked at
Mm-hmm.
the hive to see
Yes.
the parts, right? And then each of the 13 parts opens into 7 more, like a fractal of
Yeah.
7, like a flower. And so that just suddenly is a whole new framework that we're operating within, which contains everything we need to live a beautiful life, aligned and activated, connected with the earth, aligned with the cosmos, our multidimensional self. It's basically a map for that, right?
Yes, and that's what I love.
So
I
cool.
love that. It's so clear how it is all interconnected, because I think that's what's been missing. It's like we tend to compartmentalize everything without realizing the impact of one onto the other.
Yeah, and this way you can sort of see and accept and have a more of an understanding of the different parts of ourselves. You know, like in our world, people talk about, you know, you got mental illness and schizophrenia and all these like fragmented different parts of self, and sometimes there's you know, healing needs to happen, but sometimes it's actually about acknowledging all the different parts, listening to the different parts, and finding harmony within the self. And this is a map for that, because we're all multidimensional. So rather than feeling like this part's battling with this part and this part needs to be heard and this part's being ignored, and you know, it gives a real sense of wholeness to all those parts, so we no longer feel fragmented and that like there's parts of ourselves battling with each other, but each part actually has a place, and each part is valid, and each part has a voice.
Yes, and each part is just as important as the other.
Exactly.
So I was talking to my daughter about this yesterday, of course. And you know, we were saying, and that's the thing, if we can actually value each other, knowing that while my role may be this, it is just as valid as someone else's role of bringing something else, because we are all a part of that whole. And once we truly understand that we need to play our part, that our part is just as valuable and just as important, and even though at this time society may not see it that way because I don't know, because it lacks a societal idea of importance, that's just not true. We're all a part of the whole, and we're all as required as each other.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like we're all cells of an organism, and every cell has a role to play. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I went to a village gathering on the weekend, which was an intentional gathering of families and people who are connecting on the earth in this beautiful property, which is an intentional community actually. But we all kind of gathered there to explore this idea of how to be healthy, have healthy community. How do we move forward as humanity? Because there's obviously a lot of ill health and dysfunction, especially in the way that our society is structured, in terms of isolation for families. So how do we bridge that and transition into returning to a more healthy way of living? And it was so rich, you know, we had group discussions and kind of like spontaneous workshops, and people were gifting it was a great example of how each person has something to bring to the collective. Every single person's voice is valid.
Has something. That's right.
Everyone. Yep. And
once we get that they are all of equal importance. Yeah, first step, because it's like, I don't know, it's just such an important thing for me to want my children to understand. I want them growing up knowing that every part is just as important as the other.
Yeah. And what we're
I value my middle finger just as much as I value my opposable thumb. I want my whole hand. There is not one part of my hand that is more important or less important or more valuable or less valuable than the rest.
Yeah, exactly. And like even your fingernail, if you have like an injury with your fingernail, it's going to tell you, your whole body's going to know about it, because it will be sore. It will be affecting everything, you know, like no part is insignificant.
Exactly.
What was I going to say? So there was this powerful earth healing process that happened at the village gathering, which was spontaneous. I went into a bell tent workshop on earth healing, and I felt drawn to go there. And there was a fairly small group, like there was probably about 7 or 8 of us, doing some sensitizing of our energy. And I've just made the video and shared it in the temple, in the Earth Mother, about, you know, developing more sensitivity because we all have this ability, and then using that sensitivity to actually navigate and find places where there's disruption. This could be on the earth or in your own body or, you know, with your child, anything, so that we can actually consciously, with loving intent, bring harmony back to things which are disrupted. Because the land we were on, there was disruption that had happened in terms of like bulldozers had come in to flatten parts so that we could camp, and there was like different levels, and it was amazing. Like, it's a long-term project, but in that moment the earth had been disrupted at the hands of humans, right? So, and it's not bad, not judging it, but just noticing, right? And as part of this workshop, we were instructed to go outside the tent and just trust intuitively where we're drawn to go to, and go there and just see what happens. You know, with this sensitivity, feel in your hands what's happening. And so I was guided really strongly to head to this edge of this sort of clearing, which was covered in wood chips. It had been all chopped, like it was part of a hill. And I got there, and my hands were very sensitive to the fragmentation that had happened from the land moving. And I became very clear and receptive. Well, that was part of what we were doing, was to be that vessel to receive messages and ask questions. And I asked, what's needed here? What does the land need here? And the clear response was just needing acknowledgement, just acknowledgement of what's happened, so then the healing can happen. It was so beautiful. And just through that acknowledgement, it was like, yes, I see you. I see what's happened here. And I was holding my hands and felt a realignment starting to happen purely through that symbiotic relationship of being seen and acknowledged, which was incredible.
How beautiful.
That was beautiful, right? And then we were called back to a circle to share what had happened. And because we were all quite sensitive by this time, you know, like people were reporting back what they'd seen or heard or felt. And then we were noticing there was a very strong energy in the space where we'd gathered, because it was not in the tent where we'd started. It was a different part of the land. And then we were all kind of feeling into it. And there was this portion of land, like this almost like a wedge shape, like a point going out to a triangle that we identified was really quite dense, like this very dense part of, like, energetically dense. And one of the women in the group was an Indigenous woman, and she was saying that the elders are here. Like, she was pointing on the hill. There was an elder here and an elder here, and she could see what I couldn't see. And we had identified a source of trauma on the land, and it wasn't about the current land moving. It wasn't to do with the bulldozers that had been there like that month. It was way, way, way back. It was an ancient wound, and this was a very powerful land, like there's cliffs either side. And so we got permission. Is it okay if we do something to clear this energy? And the permission came through. So there were a small group of us. The woman facilitating the workshop, she said, I need a core group in the middle of this most powerful point of where we'd identified where this sort of trauma kind of originated from, because then it kind of fanned out and got weaker. So myself and two men, were back to back like a triangle with our shoulders touching, like a very small triangle around this peak point, and the others were in a circle around us. And so our intention was just to clear whatever needed to be cleared. We were all feeling very open. So we just started making sound, just close our eyes and just make sound. The outer circle was just walking slowly in a circle around us, and had our eyes closed and just toning, letting energy move through. And then all of a sudden it just like dislodged. It felt like a volcano was erupting and bursting through, and like my arms just flew up in the air, my head flew back, and I just went, ah! And I screamed this huge scream, and then it happened again, screamed this huge scream. And like it was actually the same amount of energy pouring through my body that pours through in birth. You know, that kind of like full tornado of like total powerful energetic, like just charge pouring through.
Wow.
And then after a few scream, and then I just burst into like all tears, like just cathartic kind of tears, crying. And it all was just flowing through. Like, it wasn't my emotions at all. It was just like I was the vessel for feeling what was coming through. The guys, I don't actually know what they were doing, but I think they were very solid. I just could feel their solidness.
Yeah.
So you know, in that space, it felt like we were just fully clearing something massive. And then afterwards I felt great. Like it didn't take anything out of me because I was just the vessel.
Because it wasn't yours. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we debriefed and she said, wow, like that was really powerful and nothing like that has ever happened before in all my 20 years of doing this earth healing work. And it was so powerful and it's so shamanic and earthy and primal that we have the ability to do this. And I know the earth is totally self-sufficient without us, but we are in relationship with her and we can bring healing to parts of the earth. We can, especially if it's related with the human trauma, which this was. It was related to human trauma. It was related to the loss of the mother and, you know, some really deep angst and grief and loss and devastation had happened at that point. So I felt so honored to be a part of that experience, to clear that. And it actually shifted a lot of stuff for me. And I kind of, it sent me into this spiral of reflection of what the fuck are we doing? Like, what am I doing? And that actually lasted until yesterday. I was in a real space of like really an identity crisis kind of thing. What am I doing? What are we doing? What are we doing on earth? And how can we, you know, so there was a lot of questioning because, you know, this year has been very fluid, you know, as I mentioned, like so organic and evolving and coming through. It's like just streaming through new stuff all the time. Every week something new is coming in. And now it's like created this hive structure and it's starting to land. And I had a couple of meetings yesterday which were amazing, to just get out and gather with Shining Sisters and Shining Sisters on Zoom, and then a group of heart-centered business women in Ballangen, just to have real heart to heart. It's so nice to just help have that clarity and that real life engagement and quality connection and feedback and giving each other, you know, like it helps us expand who we are in the presence of people who are very open to listening and contributing, and that space of synergy. It's really awesome. So I've come out of it and I'll share the clarity that's come through, right? Especially relating to the temple, because I was like, you know what, how can this serve this bigger vision that I'm sort of seeing? And it's all totally aligned, of course. Like it's the same is the part that really, the work that I do that strengthens that vision for us to be more connected with the land and each other. And the other part was that we're moving out of the age of the empire into the age of the earth community, and that's really cool, right? Because I was reading a book written by Bill Plotkin, who is an eco what's he? I don't even know the term, like an ecologist, psychologist kind of guy who basically deeply understands humanity and rites of passage and levels of development, but it's all tied in with nature and tribal wisdom. So inspiring. Like it's influencing my work a lot, like learning from him about these rites of passage and the qualities that we need to embody as we move through levels of maturity, because our modern culture is pretty much stuck at adolescence, you know? Like you look at any government or any, you know, decision-making process, any institution, they're basically stuck as teenagers battling in the schoolyard. And yet, you know, we need to move beyond that, move into maturity, into right relationship with each other, with the plants, with the earth, so that we can be stewards and custodians of this magical planet that we're on. So we do need to grow up, right? So then I was like, and then the whole money thing was also part of this, like this confusion that I was in. It's like, oh, you know, what if what if I step into service and it's all just like somehow, you know, knowing that a lot of the people that I'm speaking to, like there's a real mixture, like the beautiful Blossoming Women tribe and the Temple Sisters, there's really a diverse group of people, and yet there's a very strong theme of people who are already intending to connect with the land, and a lot of people who are homeschooling, or they haven't prioritized financial growth in their life. And so maybe like varying levels of financial stability and ability to actually like afford things and pay money on themselves, especially mums. You know, there might be not much left over at the end of every month. And I was feeling like, how do I support those people, even if they might not have $33 a month for the temple? And then I was thinking, wow, that's actually not very much money, because I was like really reflecting on the whole thing. But for some people it's a lot. And so then I realized there actually needs to be another level, which is basically, and this is all just coming through, it's similar to like currently there's the tribe membership area in the Blossoming Woman website, which has got heaps of resources that I share on there. And that's free. And so some of those resources are, I mean, they're all amazing, but that I feel like that actually is no longer aligned with this new hive vision that I'm really needing to focus on. So there'll be a new, like a hive area, which is maybe entry by donation to get access to all the stuff, the basic resources. And then if someone chooses to, they can join us in the temple. And that's $33 a month. And then you get my, you know, group mentoring and the sessions and all the ongoing resources, really. And that's fleshing out the whole hive thing. So that's basically a whole life integration journey through the temple. And then there's one more level above that, which I realized is like more like the queen bees, the women who I personally mentor one-on-one sessions, who have like, you know, direct support from me as well. So there's 3 levels. And then on another thing is then next level again is the training, priestess training for the sisters who then want to birth this work out into the world and weave it into their own work, you know, like, so that's kind of what's coming through. So it's like the hive, the temple, the queen bees, and then the priestesses. So
that's perfect.
Yeah.
That is perfect.
Totally. And so I feel really excited now, and I'm really accepting and honoring of the value of the work, because now I feel comfortable that there are resources available for people who, you know, may not have, you know, much to spend on themselves at this point. And because ironically, it can be linked with self-worth as well, you know, what we actually devote to ourselves. And so those resources that are available by donation then can help to support a woman to feel valuable and worthy in herself. And she may choose, if this is important to her, find a way to then step into the temple to get that next level of support, to rise into, you know, more alignment, integration and activation in her life.
And that's it, because I was just talking to a client about this very thing last week, and I was saying, what you need is to provide the step before your ideal client is ready to work with you.
Yeah.
And that's what you give away for free. Because until you cover that problem or that issue, then you can't find your ideal client. Like, your ideal client is still that step behind. So if you can help her where she needs help now for nothing, then she can afford your something.
That's right.
Because she was saying the same thing to me. She was going, but they just don't have the money. And then said, okay, and if you can work out why they don't have the money and provide that resource, then that grows there. And yes, it pretty much always, not always, but almost always comes back to building their self-worth.
Yeah. And really
I deserve this. I actually deserve this. And by doing this, everything else is going to fall into place.
Yeah.
By looking after myself first, then everyone around me will be happy. By looking after myself first, I can continue to look after you. By looking after myself first, I am being the living example I want to be to my children.
Exactly.
By looking after myself first, I am ending the cycle now of all the burdens that women previously have carried. Like, it ends here. I am drawing the line in the sand
Yep.
where it ends here. My children are not going to have to carry the burden that I carried, that my mother carried, that my grandmother carried, that my great grandmother carried.
Yeah. It
And
ends
it
here.
comes back to growing up, to stepping out of adolescence,
Yeah.
to knowing that I'm worthy, to knowing that I'm enough.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And this is the whole theme.
And that's what the hive work is. Like, if you
Totally.
have those the hive, then that prepares them to step into the temple. And then that prepares them
Yeah.
to do the queen bee work. And then
Yes.
if they choose, because everyone has their own path, as we discussed, everyone has their own part to play. But if they choose, then that prepares them for the priestess training.
To be the temple keeper. Yeah. The temple keeper in their own, you know, because this is something that needs to go far and wide. We're mothering, and that's the theme, is mothering cultural change. Like that came through as one of the parts of the hive. When that came through, that actually is basically everything, right? And that's the book I'm writing. Even though I haven't finished the book that I started, that I've got a publisher waiting for, this new book is just coming through and it's writing itself, and there's no resistance. There's like a super highway of just channeled, just stuff just fleshing out into this complete book, Mothering Cultural Change. And so we are, you know, and this is what helped reassure me of the amazing value, actually, of being in the temple. If you look at those 13 areas, every part of those areas of your life will improve through the temple journey. And that's $33 a month, you know, and that includes whatever priorities you have, whether it's health, whether it's the way you spend your time, whether it's being on purpose, whether it's having a powerful voice in the world, whether it's raising your children aligned with your heart, whether it's living a devotional life and bringing more beauty to every day, you know, all of those things. And that, you know, there's a whole lot, because there's 13 areas. That's really an incredibly valuable journey to be on. So I feel really aligned again. Like yesterday I was just like, you know, just not even wanting to know about the money stuff and feeling so confused about it and so torn. But the other thing with money is that basically humanity has been under a spell with money. You know, it's been hijacked by the corruption and the debt sort of model. And a lot of people don't want to take part in that model.
Yeah.
And I've recognized that within myself. I have a rage at how money has been used to abuse the resources of the planet, to exploit people, to take advantage of people. And like yesterday, I was so present to that rage that I feel about how money is used. And that was actually getting between me feeling comfortable receiving it.
Yeah.
You know, and then to go, I don't want to be under that spell anymore. Money is a resource. It's a mode of exchange. We actually need more of it in the hands of the ones with a big heart who are going to actually use it wisely and share the wealth, share the love, not try and take it from everyone, but be in true exchange and value. And, you know, John DeMartini speaks of fair exchange. You know, I'm offering something of value for you in exchange for money at this point. We might have a different mode of exchange in the future. I'm really open to that. You know, gifting and all that is great. But currently, it's the easiest, most clear agreement we can have between each other is an exchange of money. And so moving into that as a very clean relationship, and that actually the more we can do that as big-hearted people, come into more abundance and flow and receiving, then we can have more influence on how the resources are used. And this is another part of the temple, is to give power and voice to the mothers who need to be heard. You know, because the mothers are at the bottom of the social hierarchy. Yet we're the nurturers, we're the carers, we're the, you know, the ones that are tending life. We need to be making decisions. We need to be influencing the decisions that are being made on the world stage about how life is being managed and how the resources are being managed and decisions are being made. You know, all that. So that's a part of the vision of this temple, is to actually empower women to step up into, you know, powerful truth. And I'm doing speaker training at the moment with Felicia Malay, which just started. I'm on week 1, and already so exciting already. And my personal journey, obviously, like, it kind of like filters through into the work I do. Like, as I grow and evolve, then that sort of comes through into whatever I'm doing. And so, and that's a really significant piece of awakening our voices, not necessarily on the stage, but even just in our own lives, in our intimate relationships with our children. And one thing I got present to is, because one of the exercises we've been doing is looking at our shame story. You know, what stops you from speaking up? How do you feel? You know, when you say something significant, what else might be going on in the background that stops you from speaking more, or kind of causes you to hesitate, or causes you to actually just shut your mouth? Right? Like exploring that stuff. And I realized that one of the things that I had going on was like almost like apologizing for taking up space.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Confronting, because I didn't think that was there. but what that shows up as is that instead of being powerful and direct, there can be like this, a bit of waffling around to kind of create credibility, or some, I don't know, like it leads to a dilution of what's actually being said. If I feel like in some way, or I might be assuming that it's not going to be understood, so I'm trying to cushion it, you know, like, and that's really significant, because one of the reasons I'm doing this speaker training is so that I can be really clear and powerful and just say what I need to say without waffling on, because that has been a tendency. But to notice
how funny is it, though, that what's holding you back is apologizing for, you know, taking time and for speaking your truth, and yet the way you counteract that is by waffling, which actually takes more time.
I know. And it just like it actually creates that.
Exactly.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Like, you're worried you're taking up too much time, and so you waffle, which takes up too much time. Or not too much time, but wasted time. Because if you're waffling, then the message is getting lost anyway.
Totally.
So
I know, it's hilarious.
The thing you're concerned about is making you create what you're concerned about.
I know. Aren't humans hilarious? I know. So I'm really excited about this journey that I'm on, and already, you know, week 1, I'm feeling big shifts already. And
awesome.
So just on a personal level, I have a homeschooling report and 2-year plan to be done by the end of May, which is 8 days. No, it's not even 8 days.
You know the date, yeah?
What was that?
You do know the date today? So you have a week.
Yeah, I have a week.
Yep.
I haven't even filled in the form to like apply. So that's been a sort of like a background source of stress, but I just need to do it. I might just spend all weekend basically just like getting that together, because I've got to do 2 kids. I've got to do like Luna and Zenon, because Brett and his ex-partner do Caden and Jamala. So we got the 5, but Lotus is at high school at the moment. So currently Luna's sort of doing year 10. I need to do the plan for year 10 and 11, which is kind of significant.
Yeah.
But you know what? I can do it. It's all there. I just need to like download all the stuff off the internet, and then basically share what resources we're using and the schedule. You know, I feel confident, and she's got heaps of work. We just need to gather what she's been doing for the past 2 years and present it. And because we're kind of like unschooling, natural learning, we don't sort of do curriculum necessarily, but everything needs to show that we're meeting the curriculum. So that kind of makes it harder as a parent to kind of tick the boxes, but we can do it. Like, I just look at the requirements, say, look, she's done this, this, and this. She's obviously thriving. She's interested. She's immersed in projects, and give us another 2 years, please. So that's that.
It's only just changed in Victoria, so I'm not sure how it's going to
Right.
work.
Okay. Because I'm in New South
Like,
Wales, it's really strict.
exactly. So, well, in Western Australia, it seemed strict, but they were really cool. Like, I know a lot of people didn't like it, but like we had a moderator come out, and we were just doing completely natural unschooling then.
Yeah.
Um, and she was much younger, so it was like he got her to read to him, and then I explained, like, we did math and problem solving by giving her a budget, and she'd shop and she'd organize a party and stuff like that. And he was really, 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 really awesome.
That's cool.
Then in New Zealand, when we went there, because you get paid to homeschool your children in New Zealand.
Right.
So
Wow.
I know, it was kind of cool. So what they do is they have like massive things that you have to fill out beforehand, and you have to explain how you're going to do it. Probably it sounds a bit like New South Wales, like how you're going to do it, how you're going to meet the standards. The homeschooling community in New Zealand was lovely. Like they said to me, you're probably going to get knocked back the first time. Don't worry about it. If you need any help, we're here to help you. And I did. Well, I didn't cheat, but I just sent in my thing from Western Australia saying, I got told in Western Australia that I was approved for homeschooling. Can you do the same thing? And so they just accepted that. So I didn't have to fill in all the forms and everything, which was good because it just looked so overwhelming. But in Victoria, they're still working through how they're going to regulate it.
In Victoria?
Because previously, all you did was you let them know every October, and to homeschool my child. And that was it. There was no follow-up. There was no, which I found a little weird and a little good. It was
pros and cons of that.
Whereas, so it'll be interesting to see what they can do. I think it will be a combination of New South Wales and Western Australia. They'll have a moderator come out. They might call it something else. And it might have just been that I got a really cool moderator. Really.
We've had 2 visits.
Because a lot of people are like, they're out to get you. And I'm going, well, I'm going to look at it as he's coming to assist me.
Yeah.
And if he sees a gap, then he'll let me know how it can be filled. And because I don't want to approach someone. I don't want to let someone into my house with the attitude that they're out to get me. Like, why would I do that to myself? And if I really believed that he was out to get me, why would I let him in?
And you know what? I think the way the moderator responds to your individual situation in that day is a lot to do with how you welcome them in as well.
Yeah.
Are you treating them like a human, a respectful human? Because like each time I've had 2 people come, and each time we've ended up having quite lengthy conversations about children's well-being. And the first guy, I was really happy to see him leave. But, the second woman, she was asking me questions. I was asking her questions. It was actually a very helpful. It was a helpful visit, like I was asking her stuff about different resources and does she have a recommendation, and I think that helped her feel valued as well. She wasn't the Antichrist come to take the kids away or anything. We're in partnership.
That's how I felt. I just sort of felt like, you know what, he probably trusts me, and just because I don't know, I think it's for me, it's like if you're the type of person who chooses to homeschool, unschool, whatever, then clearly you want to put the effort in. So because otherwise you'd send your kid to school, wouldn't you?
Yeah, totally.
Like, that's always my attitude. Like, if you're taking on homeschooling, then clearly you're committed.
Yeah.
So I just assume that everyone else assumes that. And so I think I've just attracted people who also assume that.
Yeah. And, it's like, for me, the visit is like cramming for a test at school. I just need to have everything ready. I haven't really put much effort into it for 2 years because they come, they do the visit, we just get along with our life. I'm kind of checking in. There's a little bit with, with some, like with maths and English, Luna's got a resource. She uses ixl.com.au, I think it is, which just basically goes through all the, curriculum maths and stuff, because
Yeah.
So she's totally
Maths
on
is the
par
one
with that.
thing we do with
Hey?
curriculum. Maths is the one thing we do with the curriculum.
It builds on itself.
Yeah, like you need the
Um,
foundations to be able to get to the next bit.
Yeah, and then we're doing, you know, weaving in a bit of sacred geometry too, which I'd like to move more into because that's more expansive, you know, like,
Yes.
but then, you know, this weekend I'm going to cram, just gather all the stuff, put together an amazing presentation, put a, you know, a PowerPoint show together, put a folder together, put a plan together, and then I'll be ready. So I've spent a weekend on that. And then I'll be ready for the visit next week and we'll get 2 years. That's my intention. Although I don't know if they still give 2 years at this age because Luna's year 10, 11. Then that takes her to almost to the end of high school.
Yeah.
And then he's starting. He's in like, I don't know what they call it. He's 6. So
How cool is that?
baby. Yeah. And so that's one thing. And excuse me, the other thing is my tax return that I haven't actually finished from 2016, 17, which needs to be done before the end of June. So I'm going to do that over the next week. And that's just another big weight in the back that's just been sitting there waiting to be done. And, you know, we've been completely cut off of Centrelink altogether, family tax benefit, any payments like completely gone. That's been a while and I didn't really notice because I wasn't looking at my bank account, but realized, you know, I spoke to someone, I thought I'll ring up and what's the situation? They go, well, you need to put in your tax return from last year. So that's step 1. So I'll do that. And I think, I don't know if there's anything else to explore. Is there anything else that you wanted to share or ask me?
No, I did want to quickly though touch on, and this might, it might help you, or anyone listening. But the conversation we were having about money is really, really interesting. Like I get the anger that you were feeling about how, you know, and I get that a lot of us feel that anger and we feel like we're being held ransom by the system that's in place. And it's great to see that you can see that it's that anger that clearly is going to spill over into being able to receive money, because how can you be so angry at a system that's in place and be a part of that system by accepting money? You know, like the two just don't go together.
No.
It's like, well, you know, so 2 things. One, I've always believed the most powerful way to make a difference, the most powerful way to make a change is to vote with our dollar. Now, you can't vote with your dollar if you're not getting any dollars.
Yeah.
So, so that's the first thing. Like, you know that I'm vegetarian, and I've been borderline vegan for a long time, but you know, I will go to places that serve meat and I will order vegetarian meals, because the more vegetarians go to mainstream places, the more vegans go to mainstream places and request it, the more vegetarian food will be available. The more people see that, yes, you can make money from compassion. They're my personal reasons. I'm not saying anyone else needs to be vegetarian.
No, I appreciate that.
But you know, I vote with my dollar in mainstream places so that people know that it is financially viable.
Yeah.
Provide vegetarian and vegan options.
Yes.
The second thing is, it is an energy. It is just an exchange. And where we get stuck is we think we're taking money from our clients.
Yeah.
We forget that they're actually receiving so much value.
Yeah.
That they're getting more than we're getting. We're getting a dollar amount. We're receiving and we're allowing them to give us a dollar amount. What we're giving back to our clients is expansive. It's like it can change their whole life. Yeah. You know, so we're not taking from them. And that's where we get stuck as well. Like, we get stuck in a system that we think we hate, and so we don't want to participate in it. And so how can we receive money? And we get stuck in believing that we're taking money from someone, forgetting that it is just an energy exchange,
Yeah.
and they're receiving from us, and what they're receiving is so much more
Yeah.
than what's being exchanged, no matter how much we charge. Because I guarantee if you charge, which you're not going to, because yeah, I just know you're not, but if you charged $1,000 a month to be in the divine temple, what they receive is still so much more than that $1,000 a month.
Yep.
You know, and that's what we need to remember. We're not taking from anyone when we accept money. And that system that we don't like, the way to change it is by voting with our dollar, and therefore we need the dollar.
And move into integrity in our choices. Yeah, totally. And it's interesting because those areas, because I said I'm doing the speaker training for voice, you know, powerful voice, and I'm also doing about to start a course around money, about having, you know, really honoring money, being organized with money, because I've just neglected it, you know, especially understanding that I hate the system, it's all fucked and all, you know, like all that rebellious teenager part. Why would I look after it? Not acknowledging that it is a valuable thing that gives us the ability to share with each other. So I'm healing my relationship with that, and then that'll weave into the temple too. So the sisters who are feeling like, you know, money is a really hard thing, then the energy of healing around that, of coming into alignment, is actually weaving into the temple too, so that we can step into power. Our power and our voice.
That is my favorite work. Working with people around money is my favorite work. It's just so freeing once you actually get it. It's like, oh my God. Like the only thing stopping me from having money is me.
And me not stepping out and offering value to someone. You know? Yeah. And so that was, you know, a big wake up call for me yesterday, like really honoring the value of what I do. Instead of looking at the money, looking at the actual exchange, there's a value exchange here. So how can I remind myself of how fucking amazing this is? The changes. And the other part that I got clear about when I've doing the speaker training exercises was I was realizing that, and I don't know if I said it, I've been in a few calls today, but the last few weeks, my energy has really been, a bit like scattered, right? With this, I mean, new stuff's coming through and all these different things requiring my attention, where I haven't been sitting in the role of temple keeper in the way that I wish to, right? My focus hasn't been 100% on the temple like I'd like to. And what I've noticed is that I haven't felt so connected with it. And so what I realize is that it's totally up to me to be devoted to that. And that's going to be reflected in other people's journey in the temple. If the more I am devoted and really bringing my full presence and energy and power into the space as a temple keeper, then the more the journey is going to be richer for everyone, including me.
Yes.
So that was a big kind of realization that came through yesterday too. Instead of being in this sort of place of, you know, overwhelm and, oh my God, all this stuff, like just going, right, the vision's getting really solid now. And I actually, the other part that's been a little bit, I know we'll finish up because we're kind of, you know, pretty much, you know, spent long enough together today. It's been amazing. The actual delivery and the structure of the temple has been something that has been doing my head in terms of like trying to create stability and structure in something that's been so fluid and evolving, right? And I'm clearer now. I'll share with you what the structure is going to be, which is a little bit different to how I thought. Like there needs to be a Monday morning check-in, right? So that's by email. So there's an email goes out Monday morning, and the new, like a new offering, whether it's, you know, through me or from one of the Temple Sister contributors or the next part of the hive, something significant happens every Friday. So on a Friday, there's a new thing that lands, so that from Friday over the weekend is some time, because sometimes people get a bit of time over the weekend to maybe sit and you know, it might be a half an hour, or maybe less, to really, you know, soak up that next part of the journey. And then Monday morning, the check-in, how'd you go with that? Did you see that yet? Reminder that that's there. And then a group call on Tuesday, which could, so the Monday email is also a reminder there's a call tomorrow, and I think the calls will alternate between morning and early evening. Morning and evening. It's like week to week. Because I'm really stepping back from Facebook. And I don't want, like, Facebook is really not a big part of the temple journey. And I'm really clear about that. That's for me to be in my own integrity, even though like every second business coach is going to say that's your only main thing to focus on. I need to be really true to me and true to my sisters to say that's actually not what we're here for. We're not here for the Facebook group. We're here to connect together. And then I'm supporting women with resources to connect with people in your own life, in your own areas, or by Zoom, by phone, but making connections so the networks grow. Not relying on Facebook, because that's just making us lazy, basically. We're just like, get on Facebook, check it. But that's not, you know, that's not actually, it's giving us a false sense of community where it's holding us back from creating real community now in our actual life. And that's what I'm taking a stand for. Real community and connection, and inspiring people with resources to get that happening. At least have a listening sister so that you have someone, a real person in real time, physical reality, even if it's on the phone, that you connect with each week. Just to say hi, have someone to listen, real human connection. So that feels good.
Yay!
Oh, thanks so much, Chizelle. I love you.
I will talk to you soon.
Yay. All right. Bye.